Hello and welcome to this beer clipper video. In this video, I'm going to show you how I am solving the problem of dealing with waste liquids, both alcohol and water, when you're cleaning up your 3D prints. Now this is a big problem, it's been a big issue for me. You don't want that stuff going down the drain, so what do you do with it? A lot of people save it and then put it out in the sun. If you've got a lot of sun, if you've got reliable sun, that's a good solution. And we actually do have quite a lot of sunshine, but it's not reliable enough. And I don't also really want to be leaving this stuff lying around for Rosie to potentially find. So I needed a better solution, a quicker solution, a more reliable solution, something that I can leave maybe overnight. And then in the morning, everything is going to be clean and dealt with. And that's what this video is all about. So let me show you what I've got. Let me show you what the idea is, and then let's get making. So here we have the first part of the puzzle. This is an item that I picked up, sadly, from Amazon, which is a shame, but I wasn't able to find them anywhere else, which is actually a UV curing lamp that runs on USB power and is big enough to fulfill the problem we've got. So I bought 2 of these. You can see it comes nicely packaged. It wasn't very expensive, and hopefully it's gonna be reliable enough. Just a little bit of bubble wrap, so that's recyclable. So there's no waste, so that's good. We can see here it's a 10-watt light, and as I say, I have 2 of them, and they are independently controlled and powered by USB, which is perfect. And these put out the correct wavelength to cure the resin that you find in your 3D printers. So the next part of the puzzle is this. So this is just a normal clip block box. You can see, I don't know, I think it might be 5 litres, not sure, didn't really pay attention. But it's the perfect size because even if you fill this with liquid, it's still going to be able to be carried really easily, which is a big issue I've got at the moment with where I've been saving up my resin. But it's also a good size for these to go and be sat on top and cure the resin. Now my plan is to actually mount these to the lid, and I'm going to be doing that using some glue and using some very simple tools. So that's what this video is all going to be about. But these are literally the 2 items that you need. You need some UV lamps and you need your a container into which to put your liquid. So the first thing to show you about this is that these actually do unscrew, which is very important, because what we're going to do is I'm going to cut a hole so so this can be sealed, because it's also smelly. I really don't like the smell of alcohol. So I'm going to cut a hole. I'm going to push these in from underneath, glue them in place, and then I'll have the power on the outside. I don't need this handle at all, so I can take that off, and then I will be able to turn them on, leave it sat on my bench here overnight. I've got some USB adapters in my plugs, and then that will cure, hopefully, everything I need. Now, I don't know whether I'm going to need to order some more of these. I am wondering if I might need to order 2 more, which I might do. So I'm probably going to end up mounting these offset to one side so that if I do decide I need more, then I can get more. But if that cures everything fine, then happy days. So what I'm going to do is undo these screws and take these handles off, which, as you can see, they're only finger tight, or that side was. There we are. This side is a bit tighter, so I might need to get a tool. So I'll remove the handles from these, and then I'll show you how I'm going to go about cutting into the plastic without it splitting, fitting it in place, and then we'll give it a test and see whether it works. So whenever you're cutting into plastic like this, the thing that you've got to really worry about is it's splitting, and you don't want it to split. So what I'm going to do is I've got some masking tape here, and I'm going to put masking tape across the area where I want to cut out. 2 benefits it will give me. One, it won't split. It will mean that the plastic is less likely to split when I'm cutting it, and also it will be easier for me to draw on when I work out exactly where I want to glue it. Sorry, where I want to cut it even. So we will take strips of masking tape and just spread it down all across this area. So there we are. We've masked it off nicely there. So get ourselves a pencil and I will draw around the outside of this little housing. And I'm obviously not going to cut this first line because this first line is too wide, so I want these to sit on top. But this gives me the extent of the outside of the housing. If we have a look at the other side, what we can see is that we want to go about 5 mil inside that. So I can grab myself a ruler and I can now draw in actually where I want to cut. So we'll do a line there. And we'll do a line there. We need to give enough of a lip that we can get enough glue in place, but not so much that we start to actually put glue near the lens, because the lens is where the light comes from, obviously. So with those lines drawn, what I'll do is I will mask up the other side and draw the lines, and then we'll get to cutting. Okay, we have these done, and now I'm going to drill out a hole in the corner, which is where I'll be able to start my cutting from. So I've just got my little handheld here that I've just bought, and I've actually done a couple of tests over on the other side, and I've found that a large wood drill does go through, but not very easily. So I'll put some music on because it won't sound very nice, but I won't speed it up so you can see just how long it takes. So what you do is you just find yourself in the corner. You do not want to be pressing very hard because you don't want to break the thin plastic. And then, yeah, let's get, then you drill a hole through. So let's see how long this takes. There we are. As you can see, I wasn't pressing really, I was just allowing the slight weight of the drill to go, and it takes about 20 or 30 seconds to drill through, longer than you'd expect. But what we've got now is we've got a good start. So I'm going to get my hobby jigsaw, though of course you can use any jigsaw you wish. I'm going to cut around this line, and then we're nearly done. This has been a really nice, quick, easy build. We're now very nearly done on this. So here I have what I call my hobby jigsaw, which has just been up, was a brilliant purchase. Bought this from Lidl, where they sell here some quite good tools actually, and it has very, very small blades, as you can see, which are perfect for this kind of thing. I do have a big jigsaw, but that would be just too powerful and it would tear apart the plastic, which is why I'm suggesting you go for a slightly less powerful jigsaw. Now I'm not going to film all of this because it's going to take up quite a while, and it's very nasty noise. But what I will do is real time with some music on so you don't have to listen. I will just cut along this line so you can see just how long it takes and the technique I use. And then I'll get the rest of the cutting done and I'll bring you back for the gluing. So here goes. What I should say actually, and I should have said this before, is wear these while you're doing this sort of thing. Because if something breaks or something flies up and gets you in the eyes, then you'll regret it. So yeah, I'm wearing my safety equipment. Don't forget that if you're doing anything like this. So anyway, you can see it didn't take too long. It's not very hard, but you do need to be careful. The masking is keeping the cut nice and clean. I'm going to cut out the rest of this square and then cut out the other side, and then I'll bring you back for the next step when I get to that. So I've cut one out successfully, and I've made a slight change to how I'm doing this, and I've really realised that I really should be showing you this. What I'm doing is, rather than cutting it while it's on top of the plastic box, which was giving me a lot of vibration, I'm actually holding it down quite firmly onto the bench here and cutting along the edge of the bench, which means that the whole thing doesn't flap around. And particularly when you get to this stage where you've only got one edge left and it will be vibrating a lot, it makes it a lot easier to do the cut if you do it like this. So again, I'll pop some music on and I'll show you how I'm going around corners and how I'm moving the plastic to make it a little bit safer. So let's start the music. So there we are. What you can see is I'm actually moving the plastic rather than the drill. So holding the drill really steady and then pulling the plastic through, and that's a better, safer way of doing it. So now I'm going to finish these cuts, take the masking tape off, which is the next thing to do, just like that. And then when that's done, I will come back for the gluing and then we'll test it out and see if it works. Let's hope it does. So the final step is to glue these in place, and you guessed it, I'm going to give it a go with this and see whether this works. It should do. There is a bit of a smooth plastic, so I'm a little bit worried. But what I'm going to be doing is applying this from both sides. So first of all, I'm going to glue from the top. And then when that's dried and gone off, then I will go and run a bead around on the inside. I don't want the fumes to be escaping from this. I want this to be nice and sealed, and I'm hoping that this is going to work. So we'll just run a bead all the way around the outside of both of these holes. So I'll get that done. There we are. And just kind of smear it in place a little bit. One of the things I've found with this glue is it doesn't always adhere directly out of the tube, so you need to kind of make sure that it is all stuck to the first surface. I've not had a problem with having this on my fingers, but when it gets wet it does do some strange things and look a bit weird. So I'll quickly wipe that off on the cloth. There we are. You can see it rubs off quite easily. And what we're now going to do is just press these down. I'm actually going to take the lid off, so I've got a little bit less, like a little bit more force, and just press these down on top, making sure they're central. There we are. And if I turn that over, I should see, as you can see, that is nicely central. And like I say, when that's dried, I'll come and do a bead on the inside as well, just to seal it completely. But for now, I'm going to leave it at that. So I'll get these glued in place now and leave them for a couple of hours, and I'll come back and do another bead, which I won't show you because it's exactly the same thing. And then we'll give it a go and see if it works. This is now set and glued in really nicely. I'm very, very pleased with how that's worked. And what I've got here is a jug of water. This is water that I've used to wash off alcohol from my prints. So it's stinky and it's full of resin. So I'll put this into this now. You can see that I use some washing up liquid when I'm doing this, so there's some soap in there as well. So what I'm going to do is pop the lid on and then turn the resin on, the UV light on, and you can see that fills it really, really nicely. I'm going to leave that overnight and come back in the morning and see what's happened. I ran that all overnight, and it's very hard to see on the camera, unfortunately, but there is lots and lots of tiny little particles of resin floating in that water that was not there before, which is really, really cool to see. So it looks like it's working. So I'm going to empty this out, and what I've got, it's a bit of a kind of bodge job. I'm going to have to work somewhere better than this, but basically this is a very, very fine mesh cloth, and I have some cheesecloth somewhere which would be better. Once I've found the cheesecloth, I'll make something and I will do a video on that. And what I'll do is I'll empty it through this so that it picks up any resin. That then can be disposed of, however, and then the water will be good to either reuse if it's going to be alcohol, which I'll come to next, or that can go down the drain now because all it is just water. So that's been a real success. So I'm going to get that done, not on camera because I'm expecting it to be quite messy, difficult, and then I'll have a look at the final thing that I want to do, which is actually my Mercury Plus vat, which is completely and utterly in need of washing, and so getting that done is quite important. So I'll be back in a second, tell you the results of this emptying attempt, and then we'll have a look at the alcohol. There we are. You can see, I mean, there are some bigger bits that were obviously floaties, but you can see there's lots of little specks there which have really, really nicely filtered out through this cloth, and it's worked much better than I expected, which is why you're getting this clip. Apologies for the drilling in the background if it's coming through. Builders are working on my workshop downstairs. So now we're going to look at the alcohol. So let's get that set up and get that cleaned up and curing and see how well this deals with alcohol. So here is my cleaning vat for the mercury, and it is full of, I mean, it's been used a lot. So if we have a look inside this, you can see at the bottom there is a lot of resin that's at the bottom of that vat. And there's also actually some bits that have fallen off, which I should have sent over to my friend. Oops, I'll have to tell him. They've fallen through the gaps. So what we're going to do is empty this into my container carefully. And there's still quite a lot of resin in there, so I'm going to need to get that out somehow. So what I'll probably do is get my alcohol, put another little splash of alcohol in that, give it a bit of a shake, and then empty it into the container. And then what I'll do is I will put the top on as I did before, turn it on, leave it on for the next 10 hours or so, and then I'll come back together with you, and hopefully we'll see that we have nice clean alcohol which can then be used again to clean my miniatures. So whereas before I was filtering and throwing the alcohol away by the filtering technique I was using, now I'm going to be able to cut down on my expenses and my consumption and reuse and recycle material, which is really, really cool. So yeah, gonna give that a quick rinse out with some alcohol. It's already settled a lot actually, so I can even pour some more already. There's a lot of it was starting to cause a problem with my cleaning as well. So yeah, I'll get that done and bring you back a bit later on when I've finished doing the exposure, and we'll see how clean that alcohol is. As it happened, this got left about 15 hours. And I think that's probably too long. I could probably cut down the time. I'll do some experimentation on that and do an update video later. But I think this is a good place to wrap this. This is the cured resin that was in that alcohol, and that has worked better than I expected. Now, I am also going to update and improve how I do the filtering. Let me just grab this out. I forgot that I have some of these style filters, these style kind of funnels, and they're going to make it a lot easier for me to actually do the filtration afterwards. That was quite hard work. You can see I've had to pull the sides up. It was leaking over the side a little bit, so I have actually got some resin gone through, and I do actually also have some actual paper filters that I also had forgotten about. So if you don't have those, obviously, then this is a suitable technique, using a J-cloth or a cheesecloth, but I will do a follow-up video with both how long to potentially leave the cure for, and also showing a couple of other filtration methods. But I think this is a good place to leave it. This is a really good experiment. I'm really pleased it's worked so well, and I hope this does help some of you to recycle, because waste is bad. Well, there you are. I've been using this now for a week or so since I made it and filmed the how to build. I thought I'd give it a little bit of time before I wrapped up the video personally and did this outro, just so I could see whether it was a flash in the pan or not. And I can tell you that it has worked really, really well. One thing I've found is that sometimes if you leave it in for too long, you get a little bit of a rim around the side of the plastic container, which is cured resin. It's not the end of the world, and that's the only thing I've found. You don't need to leave it in for however long I left that alcohol in for. You can do it for a few hours and then it should be fine. And I did try it with the paper filter within that little funnel, and that worked really well as well. So there we are, a couple of bits of benefit of the last week or so of using this. But it's so good to have something where I can process my waste immediately, not end up with literally litres of water that I have to sit in the sun and hope for it to cure if we have enough sun. It's a really, really useful little idea, and it's working very, very well for me. So hopefully it'll help you out as well if you need it. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. I do reply to them all. Don't be shy, do say hello. And yeah, let me know if you've done something similar, if you've got a better idea, if you think I'm an idiot. I'd love to hear them all. And I'll wrap up by saying, as I always do, thank you very much for watching. And please stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.